we all have a lot of improvisation to do in this time. We are gathered here today for this seminar from the initiative of Murmansk region and the situation about the COVID-19 that has affected us very much lately. We have some simple questions to ask to all of the regional leaders, and we are, of course, very happy that we have almost all regional leaders in the Barents Cooperation with us today. So we hope for your response, and we also hope that you will keep the time limit. You will have 2 different questions, first round question, and then we get 3 minutes, all of you. But before we start, we will have some welcome marks, and we start with the Governor of Murmansk region. Please, Mr. Governor Chibis, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear friends, dear Thomas. We are more used to seeing you here in Murmansk when you moderated the Arctic cooperation session. But over the last few months, we have gotten used to using this remote format. I can tell you that I haven't been flying to Moscow for more than 2 months now. So all issues are resolved online with the federal government, and it turns out to be quite productive. But I do believe that we need all to discuss what we are doing, how we are doing it in the Barents region, because we have the virus, of course, but we are returning to our routine life. We are continuing to developing our economic cooperation and our economics, and we understand that we have to adjust to the situation and become more active and become stronger. So the initiative that we put forward to discuss what we do and how we do it, and to exchange best practices, I think it will be of great help for us to become more strong and more efficient. We've been working like this with other colleagues inside our country, and I and my colleagues would very much like to know what measures are being taken and what are the impacts and effects that they bring in our neighboring regions. Our position that this virus, this pandemic that we're all facing, I believe that we are coping quite well, and it should make us even stronger than we were and strengthen our cooperation. And I hope that soon we will be able to meet face to face rather than online and discuss any issues.
Thank you, Governor Chibis, and I really hope that we can do that, and that your invitation to the traditional meeting in Murmansk in November will be put on place. Thank you, and we immediately go further to the chairperson of the Regional Council, the acting governor of Västerbotten. Please, Mr. Lars Lustig.
We can't hear him.
I hear you clearly. I can hear you.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Lustig, but it seems like you have not chosen the right audio channel because we are not able to hear you right now. Could you please choose English channel in settings area?
Det er ikke der problemet ligger.
I can hear you, Lars, but I think the rest cannot. Murmansk can't hear you. I think we do like this, Lars. Could you be on hold and we continue with Görel Johansson instead, and then you come back when you try to solve that issue? Is that okay? That's okay. To save some time. So I want to introduce the chairperson for the Committee of Senior Officials, the chair of the Barents Corporation from Norway, Görel Johansson. Please, your welcome statement.
Thank you, Thomas. Can you all hear me? Yes. Dear Governor Chibis, dear Barents friends, I would also like to, first of all, thank the governor of Murmansk for this initiative. It's good to see that Murmansk is such a driving force in the Barents Corporation. I think we all have nice memories from our visit with our state secretary and interesting discussion during the session in November. So thank you for again bringing us together for this useful meeting. I also would like to reiterate what the governor said about in these times we really have to strengthen the Barents Corporation. And I think we all see that the friendship and the ties and the contacts we have built up between the Barents countries in these difficult times, we really learn to appreciate it even more. And as you know, one of the priorities for the Norwegian chairmanship is health. And unfortunately, this has proven to be a very topical issue these days in the Barents Corporation. We are planning a meeting on e-health with the joint working group for health and social issues in autumn. So the working group and the subgroup for digital cooperation is helping us with the suggestions for the program. I think we all see that these days the Barents Corporation is it's not paused, but we all see challenges because we are used to meet people to people, and when we cannot physically meet, this is not that easy. But still, it's really impressive to see how many initiatives now are taken on the digital platforms. We have seen that from the Norwegian Barents Secretariat with the event Hack the Crisis, and also so many other events on the digital platforms. And I think we all have to help each other promote our cooperation these days and to show the success stories and projects. From the Norwegian side, we see that Arctic societies in general are remote and more vulnerable to start with, and due to the pandemic, these challenges are sometimes bigger. For example, for young people, it affects mental health. And I look forward to today's discussion also on how we can address the various challenges together in the Barents region. Thank you very much from Oslo.
And thank you very much, Göril. And now we try again with Lars Lustig. Governor Lustig, can we please try another welcome speech?
Mr. Lustig, we can hardly hear you. I'm sorry, this is an interpreter speaking. If Thomas Hallberg, if you can hear me, I cannot hear the Mr. Lustig, or I can barely hear him.
Okay, so Lars.
Oh, now it's better. Now it's better.
Now
Now
better.
his sound is better.
Okay, let's try it again then. Okay, Lars, take it from the beginning. Yes, you are now. The interpreter can hear you, so you are heard. Mm. 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 Thank you, Governor Lustig. And I think that maybe it will continue to have some problematic problems with the technique, but we have to live with that. We can see it as the first trial. So now, after this introduction and welcome speeches, we will have two sessions with two different questions. There will be 3 minutes each for each speaker, and I urge you all to keep the time limit. We will have the same order for both questions. So the first question that we're asking all the participants is, what was the most severe challenges you faced in the timing of the COVID-19? Sorry. And we start with Governor Chibis from Murmansk.
Thank you very much. I would identify three key challenges. And the first one that we face is addressing issues of coronavirus spread, not only within one region, but in a huge construction site. You know that we have a very big construction project by Novatec, which manufactures special gravity type structures as a manufacturing plant within a manufacturing plant. And on the shore of Kola Gulf, we have a huge number of construction workers in quite a confined space. To us, this is indeed a huge challenge. And today I can say that the Belokamenka construction site for a month or a month and a half has been under very close monitoring by myself, my colleagues, the contractors. We have been dealing with this issue, and now we can announce that this is one of the cleanest places in terms of coronavirus in our adjacent territories. Practically no infected people now. Maybe several dozens of people who are just in the final stage, and we're waiting. We have managed to solve this issue without stopping the production process. And this is a very important case to us, as we believe, and many our colleagues too, a very convincing, successful practice that we had to apply and implement. And this was because we understood the risks and we started preventing measures to isolate people, and a whole number of measures were done to the or became the foundation for the guidance that was written after that. So now I can say that we are removing this quarantine regime, and the intensity of construction process is increasing, even though it was never stopped entirely. Secondly, another challenge that all healthcare systems are now facing across the globe, and of course in Murmansk region, is prompt mobilization and preparedness for large number of patients. And the restricting measures that we were introducing very cautiously, beginning from the middle of March, allowed us, in close cooperation with our largest companies, Nornickel, Novatec, Fosagra, and other large taxpayers. They helped us deploy special infection hospitals to provide oxygen equipment for grave patients, and to bring more equipment for oxygen in a quick time, so that we could combat the outbreak in Belokamenka. Also prepare our medical facilities for further tackling the coronavirus. This was a serious challenge, but also we have managed to succeed here, and our medical personnel have demonstrated, I think, in all countries as real heroes. If you look at Murmansk region, even in spite of quick growth and growing number of detected infectious people, our medical personnel were successful in combating this process, and the number of recovering patients is growing and overtaking the number of those infected. So luckily, we practically did not require those special places that we prepared for heavy patients, but so far we have not more than a dozen, and the doctors are doing their best to promptly tackle this. And the third challenge I would like to touch upon is, of course, patience of people who have to tolerate the restriction measures, to put up with they having to be isolated from other people, so that we slow down the pace of dissemination of the infection. And this is also a challenge that we have successfully tackled, and most of the northerners, most of Murmansk people in the region are complying with the restrictions or the guidelines that were provided from us. So further to the first stage of combating this coronavirus spread, I would emphasize these three challenges. A big outbreak that we had to put down with the minimum of consequences without stopping this very important and large construction project. Secondly, preparation of and mobilization of healthcare facilities with the necessary equipment and the training of medical personnel who have to spend 40 days within a hospital, and the preparedness of the society to accept the restriction measures and to comply with them. That's it.
Thank you very much, Governor Chibis. So we continue then with the governor of Lapland, Mika Ripi, please.
Thank you, Thomas, and greetings from Lapland also to all friends around the Barents area. Unfortunately, I'm working just right now in my forest cabin, so the broadband network is quite bad, and therefore I can't open the video, so you can't see me, but hopefully you can hear me. But challenges, of course, the accurate challenges when the crisis hit were of course the sudden stop of tourism, and it was total stop, I must say, and especially to those municipalities that are highly dependable of tourism and service related economy here in Lapland, especially in the northern part of Lapland. There are municipalities that over 80% of their economy relies on tourism. That hit very hard, and for example, employment level has risen from 6% to near 20% here in Lapland. So it was very sudden crisis for us. The other sudden challenge was, of course, the closing of the borders, and that has affected a lot to Lapland and Lapis people's living, and also Lapis companies' ability to working, trade, logistics, and all those elements that are natural for us when the borders are open. They've sudden stop, and that has created a lot of difficulties for people in everyday life, and also on company level, how the companies could do their trade. Then, of course, from the long-term challenges, I assume that one of the biggest challenges will be the coming crisis in public sector economy. I believe that also in municipal level, regional level, state level, European Union level, we are heading towards very hard times, and I can assume that it will take quite a long time to recover and build up again a strong and sustainable economy. That will be the biggest challenge for our perspective in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mika. So we continue with Elisabeth Wik Asbacher, Governor Tromsø and Finnmark County.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Dear Barents friends, let me first express my gratitude to Governor Andrei Chibis for taking this very important initiative. Due to strict national regulations and local quarantine rules, the spread of the virus in our region has been rather limited. So far, over 39 communities have only faced a number of 252 COVID-19 infected, while as much as 20,000 tests have been analyzed at the University Hospital in Tromsø. And yesterday, there was only one person in hospital sick with the virus. But the question is, were we really prepared for this pandemic? I think the answer to the question is both yes and no. Most local communities had pandemic plans, but we faced a serious lack of infection control equipment, both in hospitals and in the local healthcare system. The situation made us quite nervous. If we had an outbreak of the coronavirus, the health system couldn't really cope with it. So our main issue was to secure necessary supply of medical equipment in the first phase. In Troms and Finnmark, we have many communities with less than 3,000 people. They are also very vulnerable when it comes to health personnel. If there's just only 1 or 2 doctors, there's a big risk that the health system may break down. The corona pandemic meant that we had to train local health personnel, both in new testing procedures, what infection control equipment should be used, and training on intensive care procedures in case the hospitals were already full. Our hospital capacity is also limited. They had to buy more medical equipment, for example, respirators, oxygen equipment, and also recruit extra staff, as many of their employees suddenly were in a quarantine, and they were not available for the hospital. As many sectors were locked down, we also had problems bringing the tests to the lab at the hospital in Tromsø due to very few aircrafts available. Incoming flights via Oslo and direct from Europe to Tromsø demanded a lot of health personnel to examine the passengers on arrival, explain about the virus, what are the symptoms, and finally about quarantine rules. My last point is the lockdown of schools, nursery gardens, and leisure time activities for children and youngsters. Schooling at home is not that easy for everybody, and there is a concern that some children have suffered a lot during the lockdown period. So to sum up, very few, if any, were prepared that the pandemic situation would last for such a long period. The pandemic plans have to be updated on all levels if we should be better prepared if there are new outbreaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisabeth. And we continue now. We make a second attempt with Lars Lustig. We try to have you on again, please, Governor Lustig.
Thomas, your microphone is
Yeah,
off.
okay, I was off. I could hear you loud and clear, Governor Lustig, but Olga, could you come in and say what problems do we face for the moment? Is there something that we can correct from the speakers or the participants? Please advise us if you have something that we can correct.
Sorry to interrupt, just a short briefing. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do because our colleagues use web browsers instead of app. That is why we unfortunately won't be able to hear them. I mean, we are English-speaking colleagues, but I will email you their speeches right away. So just please keep with this inconvenience. I'm really sorry for that, but I will try my best to remand it somehow. My apologies once again.
Okay, but then we continue in the program. Thank you very much, Governor Lustig. We continue with Alexander Chipik, First Deputy Head Prime Minister of Government of the Republic of Karelia. Please, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thanks a lot to Andrei Vladimirovich for this initiative of this meeting in the pandemic conditions. The Republic of Karelia, just like other regions, have faced this coronavirus problem. I am not going to reiterate what has been said. We have been closely following the experience of our neighbors in the regions where certain methods and measures were implemented to confine the coronavirus infection. Can you hear me? Mm-hmm. We have been studying the Finnish experience when certain measures were taken to protect the elderly people, when people can attend food stores by shifts so that aged people do not contact the rest because they are more vulnerable. Just like everybody, we have faced the need to promptly purchase protection equipment, medical equipment, and enlarge the hospitals. But I also hope that we have been successful in that. The next challenge that everybody is emphasizing is the attitude of the society to the restriction measures. Also, we think that we have managed to promote the right attitude because these measures are necessary. And generally, we have the support of population, and we did have some support. And secondly, we managed to prevent a gross outbreak of the infection rates. We do have figures and they are good enough. The next challenge is extraordinary situation because we did not have this experience and we had to develop the regulatory basis and mobilize all the relevant services and ensure that the number of tests can be done, and the time of testing was reduced to just 24 hours. We found funding for tomographers purchase so that everybody who has been diagnosed with COVID-19 can have relevant medical support, and our medical personnel have this opportunity to take timely measures and to help these patients. And by that, we have managed to tackle the problem of a large amounts of heavily infected or heavily sick people. The next challenge is we need to ensure operation of the companies in the region, and our system building companies were able to continue their work. So we managed to avoid sudden drops. And looking at the experience of Murmansk region, we have replicated it, and we considered certain measures and avoided certain big outbreaks. However, our next challenge is small business and service and public catering, hotels, restaurants. These are generally small businesses, and we understand that this challenge is to keep them working. And we introduced certain measures to support from the regional budget, also by means of the federal budget. So quite promptly, even in spite of the seriousness of this problem, we managed to keep all the companies working and avoid the sudden drop of the number of jobs in these fields. By that, we avoided general unemployment growth and also decline in these fields. And another challenge that we are taking now is gradual lifting of these restrictions, while we are keeping all measures to prevent further spread. We have developed certain measures, and also we keep close eyes on the number of infected people. This number is not more than 10 or 15 people a day, and we have introduced technologies to protect people from infection spread. And now we are in the next stage to remove certain strict restrictions, because the situation is still serious. We are quite successfully coming out of this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we continue with the region mayor from Kainu, Pentti Malinen, please.
Okay, thank you for all of having this meeting. Our most challenges are quite similar to the situation in Lapland, but one special exception there is that Kainu is affected very much on the closing of the flight connections. We have only one flight connection between Helsinki and Kajaani, and it has been closed now for 3 months. And problem is that Finnair is not able to say when they will open it again. And we have hope that it will be opened immediately after summer, but it seems that this problem will last very long. And when we also know that our border towards Karelian Republic is also closed, this means, like in Lapland, that tourism has dropped very fast. About 90% of the volume has declined. The only help maybe during this next summer that the Finnish tourists will come to our region. But tourism services, especially the sports and culture events, they are all also cancelled. Like it was, we hope to have the Barents Winter Games in Kainu. It was one of the first events that was cancelled. Like Mika, I will have the third and big and long-term problem that faces the social and financial impacts that come from the unemployment, the weak position of small firms, especially these service sector firms, so that we have already done to make some survival measures and rebuilding measures and programs for that. We are supported by the Finnish government that has made also quite big extra budgets for our economy to recover. But this will be a long-term social and economic recovery to be in the future. Also on the regional level, we are not in the economic sense, we are not in the worst position, but the problem with our connectivity and tourism is that the key that has been be solved before long. Thank you.
Thank you, Pentti. We keep going on in good shape. I think we all are now. I think we can hear each other, all of us, with Eira Varis, Deputy Mayor of North Karelia. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and regards from North Karelia. And thank you for also organizing this very useful online conference. So the Finnish colleagues have already told a lot of Finnish experiences, and they are very similar here also in North Karelia. But I point out some most important ones. Such as said that this COVID-19 situation in Finland is relatively good due to restrictions carried out in the early stages of the crisis and measures taken during the past 3 months. And the Finnish government declared the states of emergency, and all the restrictions were obtained in the whole Finland. Also here in North Karelia. And we have survived here quite well in sanitary sense. There are only 24 confirmed coronavirus cases so far, and no new cases in past months. Anyway, because of these restrictions, the corona crisis has had unforeseen effects to regional economy and social life. It has weakened the operating conditions of the companies, endangered jobs in the region, and put the vitality of the municipalities at stake. The corona crisis has challenged companies and sectors in different ways. Like herd, restaurants, hotels, and specialized shops are in trouble. Most suffering sectors are tourism, creative industries, services, and trade. Otherwise, manufacturing and constructions have suffered less from the crisis at this stage. In manufacturing, the shortage of components has hampered production. Disruptions are increasing in export industry, and housing market is slowing down. But it will take more time before the effects of corona crisis are seen in these sectors. As the economic downturn deepens, demand for value-added products will weaken. This concerns especially the primary production. For example, in forest sector, fluctuation in demand behave differently during this corona crisis. Some companies have remained strong despite of the crisis, and many companies have also come up with new solutions. Companies have started offering new products and services such as hand sanitizers, online courses, home delivery services, and move their customer service operations online. Very significant question in North Karelia's business is air traffic. Mr. Malinen already told how it affects the Kainuu. We have the same problem here. It is the question is how quickly and extensively it will be reopened. There is even a threat that Finnair, which is the Finnish air company, will permanently stop flights from the certain regional airports, including our city Joensuu, which would be a severe blow to business, research cooperation, events, and tourism. Such as this corona crisis had get a good reason for the company to do that. Another important issue for businesses is the Russian border traffic and how quickly it will be opened. It is important to ensure that we share information and good practice, for example, on safe cross-border cooperation and travel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Varis, for your comments. We turn from Finland to Norway and to Nordland. Thomas Nordvall, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Thomas. I want to address my thanks to Governor Andrej Chibis for taking the initiative to this meeting. As in general, for the Barents Cooperation, also in special time like this, we may become stronger united by sharing our best practices. Nordland County has not had many cases of infected by the virus and actually no casualties. In fact, we are the county in Norway with the fewest number of registered cases of infection by COVID-19. For once, we are happy to be at the bottom of a national ranking. Of course, sparsely populated areas is undoubtedly one reason. Another important reason is the measure taken at an early stage from national and also from regional level. The 12th of March, the Norwegian government implemented several measures to stop the spread of the virus. By that point, we were still unaware of the scope of the spread in the society. It turned out that the spread in Nordland were very low. However, as elsewhere, Nordland has faced and is still facing severe challenges due to the corona situation in all sectors. The COVID-19 situation will for a long time continue to have severe implications for the society as a whole, and in particular to our businesses. In Nordland, there are many small and medium-sized businesses, also in the tourism sector, which are fragile to the loss of income and insecure future. The main challenge for these businesses is reduced income, and hence will they also have problems paying their employees. This will in turn lead to lack of competent employees. Within the responsibilities of Nordland County Council, I would argue that the decision to close the upper secondary schools may have been the most severe issue. We had some challenges in the beginning, both technical and in solutions on how to take care of the most vulnerable pupils. However, we managed to keep the schools open throughout the whole period, online, of course. Another severe challenge is within the apprenticeship training. The COVID-19 situation affects many apprentices and other graduates who receive training in different companies today, and young people who want to apply apprenticeship this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norvald Thomas. And we continue with from Acting Governor of Nenets, Yuri Bizdudny, please.
Thank you, Thomas. Good afternoon, dear friends. Greetings from Myanmar. I would like to thank Andrei Vladimirovich for this opportunity to take part in this video conference. I will only mention the challenges that were not mentioned before, and they are unique for our okrug. Nenets Autonomous Okrug is remote, and we do not have a lot of crossroads for transportation. You only can come here by aviation or by winter road from the Komi Republic. And these are the spots where we introduced very strict control at the very beginning of the corona crisis, and this control brought its good results. We faced the pandemic later than other Russian regions, only on the 10th of April. This is the first case. And all the measures that looked very strict turned out to be quite adequate. In these spots, on the roads to Komi and the airport, we detected all the major cases of coronavirus. I would like to mention some figures. Generally, we have had 80 patients infected. 60 of them have recovered, and 20 are in the final stage of their treatment. And they are not people from Myanmar. The major statistics was created by people who came to work on the production sites and oil fields, and this is the specialty of our okrug. We did not slow down the locomotives of our economy. The industry is working on, and wherever we found the cases, the measures were taken on site. So everything concerning treatments, we deployed medical facilities in those construction sites and production sites, and only brought them over to Myanmar if their condition was serious enough. And dear friends, it's absolutely clear that the remoteness of our region was the crucial factor and the beneficial factor. And that's why this virus did not spread so massively in the Nenes Autonomous Okrug. Like all of you, we faced the need to transit to the distance learning in schools. And now we have loosened this regime. We have our sports facilities working, our beauty salons and hairdressers are open, but only restaurants are not open so far, and entertainment industry. But the hotels that exist in our towns are fully booked, and even more than usual, because we have all strict observation regime for all newcomers to the region, and this applies not only to guests but also to those construction workers who come to the production sites. So they have to stay on 2 weeks observation. As to the transportation communication, currently it has reduced, of course. We had to, while applying the strict measures, we had to do that to reduce number of flights with other regions. And generally, we have been tackling the epidemic quite successfully. We understand the special nature of our region, because most people are trying to spend their summer holidays elsewhere. And we realize that later on they can come back and bring about a new surge of epidemic. But we do have a reserve of hospital facilities and already accumulated certain experience in COVID treatment. We do have online technologies to consult with the leading medical institutions. So just like you, we are tackling the situation, but life goes on, and we are trying to live and work in the new conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dudny. We continue with the governor of Norrbotten, Björn O'Nilsson. Please, Björn. Thank you, Governor Nilsson, for your remarks, and we will continue with it from the last governor's level on this section. Is Ilya Simashkin from he's the deputy chair of the government, the Komi. Please, Mr. Simashkin.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. In the Republic of Komi, we also face the classical scenario of COVID-19. And to us, the threat was when large outbreaks happened in medical facilities, and we had to close down entirely hospitals, turning them in observation facilities. We also had to deploy new facilities or to stream different patients, and also individual protection for medical personnel. Bringing and mobilizing students of medical universities, and social partnering with large companies in the region who helped us. So the task was to confine the infection spread. We protected the boarding schools from this infection, and the results can be felt in many fields, and we are taking measures in support in the field of employment and the incomes of population. Also, the first necessity goods were provided to aged people so that they don't have to leave their homes and to reduce the risks for them. Currently, the first stage of lifting the restriction with the hairdressers, etc., is activated. So we are trying to come back to normal life. We understand that we need to live with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the second last, we have last year Fordel from the Norwegian Barents Secretariat, an important stakeholder in the Barents Cooperation. Please, last year, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Thomas. Can you hear me? Yes. So they're colleagues, they're Barents friends. First, I would say thank you very much to the Murmansk governor for this initiative. It's very good to be able to connect. And for us, as an organization which mainly work with developing international cooperation, our number one problem, the main challenge was, of course, the closing of the borders in the region. Because in a normal year, we support around 150 or 200 cooperation projects. So when we saw that the border was closed, this was critical for our activity. And for us, in the current situation, all normal projects are either cancelled or postponed. And we have seen that Arctic Skills, Barents Games, Barents Bird, all kinds of educational, sports, business-related or other projects were in fact stopped. We see that also there were projects have not been stopped. For example, related to businesses, we see that the ability to concentrate on international cooperation has been reduced because, for example, businesses, they concentrate on surviving and do not have the possibility to think about cooperation. And we believe that this region needs more cooperation and more meetings to share the experiences and develop the cooperation now after Corona. But this is what we are working with now, trying to restart the Barents cooperation, to restart the international contacts during this autumn and coming back to that next year. So we were stopped, in fact, We have some solutions that I will come back to going digital, but what we are working with now is mostly how can we re-establish an active international cooperation from late summer and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars, for your comments. And the last comment from this first round of questions about challenges, it goes to Program Manager of Colarctic, Riikka Uutinen. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, dear governors, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you very much for this kind invitation to take part in the discussion. Well, with no doubt, the situation with COVID-19 has affected also Colarctic CBC program, both the program management level and project implementation level. In the program management, the most serious challenges are related to on-the-spot verifications, which the managing authority has to make to the projects that get financing from the program. We can't make final payments to the projects without making the needed on-the-spot verifications. The situation has started to bring different practical level difficulties also for many projects. And Mr. Furdal already mentioned some of them. But for example, private companies taking part in the projects must prioritize the problems that the pandemic situation causes directly to their businesses and to leave the implementation of a project in a second place. Private companies also have difficulties in predicting the market and their own position at the moment and after the crisis. So that's why the development strategies described in the project plans, what to produce, for whom and how, they must be reviewed. We also have projects that work with schools, and as Mr. Furdal already said, they have been forced to stop their work practically completely. Furthermore, some of our projects have faced very specific, very interesting and very crucial problems. For example, one of our projects was supposed to import fish eggs from Canada, but due to the closure of borders, the transportation of the eggs suffered a significant delay and the eggs were lost or dead upon arrival in border. We also have quite many projects that include different site visits that are supposed to be made together by the partners from different countries. For example, visits to rivers to be restored, visits to fish farms, or visits to experimental cultivation area for blueberry. These projects are strongly affected by the restrictions. One of our projects was supposed to hire a Portuguese expert for field work. The expert cannot come now, and the field work cannot start. And generally speaking, face-to-face meetings are fruitful and effective, and people love them. Lack of face-to-face meetings is something that all the project partners feel very sad about. Besides, the idea of a cross-border cooperation project is to cross borders and to meet people and to cooperate with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Riikka, for that and for concluding the first round of this seminar conference. The second question given to all the speakers in advance to prepare is to point out 5 key steps you initiated to reverse the effect of the pandemic. And we will use the same order of speakers as we did in the first round. So we start going back to Governor of Murmansk, Mr. Chibis. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much once again, dear friends. Talking about the 5 measures, and the first one, and the key one, was to make sure to mitigate the economic impact. And another task that we set forth is to make sure that in these conditions we do not stop focusing on the economic side, even on creating conditions for the development of the economy. So the first set of measures that, or the first thing in our focus was the economics. We didn't stop any single large industry. We took measures to tighten health regimes at these companies so that they could continue their operations So we are now managing to work in conditions where the spread of the pandemic is limited, and despite the slight increase in the number of cases, new cases, all key industries are in operation in the region. Another thing is that we, together with the federal government, we created the first in Russia, the first in the Russian Arctic, a territory of advanced economic development. It's called, we gave it a symbolic title, the capital of the Arctic. So anyone who is starting the project in the Murmansk region will be given unprecedented tax benefits, and as the end result, we expect to see a final set of federal laws that will create unprecedented conditions for the entire Russian Arctic for economic activities there. So despite the pandemic, despite so these large industries, they put a lot of effort into ensuring their viability, but we still managed to increase interest to the Murmansk region in terms of implementing large industrial projects in the mining sector, in the maritime logistics, and in the processing industry. And the taxation regimes that we can offer now also allow foreign investors to come in and establish their companies and projects here. The second thing on the economic side was to take care of the most affected part of the economy, the small and medium-sized businesses, because we had to limit the operations of tourism companies, of cafes and restaurants. We still allow them to work in a takeaway mode, and many shops had to close. So we had, at the first stage, we only had food shops and pharmacies open. So, and we implemented a number of measures to support businesses and entrepreneurs through low interest rate loans. We launched a program called Governor's Startup. We gave entrepreneurs who, for example, owns hairdressers, we gave them about 30,000 rubles plus money for 5 of their own employees. And that was in addition to the federal support package that was put forward by the president. We also offered them a postponement of tax payments, and we went even further, and we see a positive effect when we radically reduced the regional and local taxes for small and medium-sized businesses for 3 years. So we basically zeroed the taxes for them so that the businesses do not just survive, but they can also develop. And we had an interesting study. It was made by the Financial Institute of the Russian government. The number of people in the Murmansk region, the number of entrepreneurs in the Murmansk region who want to start a new business doubled. It might seem that in the times of the pandemic, the business activity should have gone lower, and the preparedness to engage in business should be lower, because many entrepreneurs either faced restrictions or other hardships. But now we see quite the opposite. We see the opposite emotional effect. We see the preparedness of the people to start their own businesses. So this was our number one measure that we implemented on the economic side. The second thing was, of course, the social sector. We also started paying increased wages to those who lost their jobs. We understand that, and companies were reducing their workforce. Secondly, we started public works for the municipalities, where the government hires people to work, to make small repairs, to do the cleaning, anything that the municipality needs. after the Arctic winter, and this was in very high demand, and it was very useful for our municipalities. We started a program when we give jobs to miners who are unable to go on vacation, so now they can make pretty good money in the summer doing the work that is necessary for the municipalities. And also, thanks to the changes in the federal legislation and thanks to moving online, we managed to extend the validity of so any social support measures can now be obtained and extended online, so they don't have to come anywhere. And we also give a lot of support to the people in the highest risk groups, such as the elderly or people with chronic conditions. So thanks to the social, to the welfare services and to the volunteers, they got anything they needed delivered to their doorstep. And that also reduced the social tension for those people who needed that. And I'm pleased that my own wife is very active in this. So she initiated this volunteer movement in our region. And one more thing, this was in the healthcare sector. This was to mobilize our healthcare facilities. But we also realized, and this is something that we're going to implement now everywhere, we heard about this e-health medicine, about e-health conference. I think this would be of benefit for everyone in order to monitor this health status at a large construction site where we have almost 11,000 people working at the same time. So in addition to preventive testing and active testing that helped us to avoid the worst case scenario and also to treat the patients that we identified at this huge construction site, we also implemented a service where we obligated everyone who was on this construction site to log into a special software under the surveillance of healthcare specialists. And we collected large data on the condition of their health, and thus we identified risk groups who had relevant symptoms. We could identify those symptoms through this application. And then we focused our effort, diagnostics effort, on exactly this group of people. So we could single out people with the who were carriers of the virus and those who already had development of the virus. So, and that gave us the result. So in addition to preparing our healthcare facilities, we also managed to launch new technology that helped us overcome this huge crisis at the construction site. And we are now going to implement this technology through even in peaceful life, as they say, because so that we could diagnose a large portion of the people remotely. And we started a large program, financial program, to support the people who are on the front line of this epidemic. The healthcare workers, they get substantial extra payments for doing that, thanks to the support from the federal and regional government. And fourth thing is that it was already mentioned here, was transferring schools to distance learning, to e-learning, to avoid the spread of the virus among school children. But what we got a large-scale test of how distance learning works. And we see a very serious future in that, because by combining different programs, something you can do face-to-face, something you can do remotely, so you can be very flexible about education for specific people, specific students. It can be school children, it can be students, it can be adults, or it can be the elderly. So we can combine these different things. So this distance learning offers new possibilities for obtaining good quality higher education when you live in your own municipality, and you can get education in the best universities of the world. So, but combining these education modules for people with special needs, for example, who for certain reasons cannot attend school or educational establishment. And this is a new step. And we believe that the pandemic gave us a new opportunity to reconfigure the education system, to invest in technology and maybe invest less in the expansion of educational establishments, and have an optimum combination of these methods. And of course, we reconfigured our government system, because going online and shift work of our agencies. Some people worked remotely from home, some worked in the office, and it helped us see how we can optimize the system. Because our garage, where we have our vehicles of our regional government, so the majority of these vehicles have now been transferred for the medical services. So they're not transporting the officials, but they're working for the benefit of the healthcare sector. This was another upside of going online. So this range of measures that we are implementing, and we have a clear understanding that this is something we will have to live with. We can survive the first wave and the second wave. We have to understand that this is a factor of life, and we have to adjust our work and adjust our economy to minimize the risk of the spread and minimize the number of people with heavy conditions. And we see new potential and new opportunities for development at the backdrop of the challenges that have been created by this pandemic. And since the 6th of May, we started softening the restrictions. From the 6th of May, we opened hairdressers. We started reopened some of the kindergartens. From the 12th of May, we lifted the self-isolation regime. So we're moving towards the regular routine life, but of course with an increased focus on protection and prevention. And we realize what the threats are, what the risks are, and we built a large hospital as a reserve, expecting or rather preparing ourselves for the second wave of the pandemic. And we're in close contact with our colleagues in other regions, and what I heard so far is very useful and very interesting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chibis. We continue to Governor Mika Ripi. Please, Mika.
Thank you, Thomas, and it's really great to hear different experiences from different regions. A lot of similar thoughts, but of course the situation varies also. So it's very interesting round. But 5 key steps. Of course, we have done a lot in a national level, different kind of measures so far. I don't go through them, but instead of that, I pick up 5 steps that looks to the future, and 3 of them is actually more Lapland oriented or local based, and 2 of them is actually initiatives to maybe wider perspective, cooperative perspective. One, and the first is of course that right now we should be focusing on sort of a controlled opening up of borders here in North. Actually, all the mayors of municipalities of Lapland made a statement this week that the borders should be opened up here in North. We all know that the real pandemic is or the most effects are now here in Finland, in Helsinki area, and for example, in Sweden, in the Stockholm area, but here in the north, there are not so many cases, and so there's a lot of possibilities to do the controlled opening up. Then the second is of course controlled opening up of tourism. That means that we should be focusing on opening the restaurants, hotels, and so on. Of course, we do have to be careful and do it controlled. But for example, opening up the domestic tourism is very important for the companies to stay alive in this situation, and also recovering the industry itself. Also, the tourism inside the Barents area is in high priority for the future and for the future summer, especially when we don't know how the global situation will be. Then the third is, of course, we are doing a lot of work between the industry and between the social and healthcare officials about creating a model to our business, for example, to immediate testing system in our tourism centers. So that means that we have modeled processes for different kind of situation if something happens. So we don't be surprised if there will be, for example, in our tourism center, affection of the virus. We have a controlled process, and we will go on with that. And that's one of those issues that we're putting a lot of effort just right now in order to prepare for future and for the future opening of the industry. Then the two maybe wider initiatives. First of all, the situation has created a lot of efforts to sort of a recovery investments also here in Finland in the national level. I think that we should be thinking also opening up the discussion about the recovery invests in the cross-border cooperation for the future. We all know that we have a lot of investment gaps and investment needs here in North, in the infrastructure, for example, broadband network and so on. So one of the ideas is that maybe we should be thinking together. Should we make an initiative about the recovery investments here in up north? And then the last one is also an initiative or a suggestion about cooperation. We should open up a discussion about how the regions here in the north, in the Barents area, can prepare together better for the future potential cases and potential crises. What we've learned now is that the national policies are those who are in charge, for example, in these COVID cases. And the discussion between the regions, actually, this is the first time, thank you, Mr. Chibis, about this opportunity. This is the first time to have this kind of a opening dialogue with the regions. Should we be prepared for the future a little bit more about if this kind of happens again, then can we create a model how we share information, how we share practices, how we together communicate better? Because in the future also, I believe that the challenges and the development of the Barents area is a common task for all of us. But shortly, thank you.
Thank you, Mika. Thank you for your comments. I also agree. I think there's a lot of things to discuss in the future. I think we all agree about that. Björn Ingemo, Chair of Troms and Finnmark County Government. Please, your next speaker.
Thank you, dear colleagues, dear Barents friends. First of all, I would like to join the others and thank Governor Andrei Chibis for taking the initiative to host such a meeting. I believe it's very timely and essential that we get together to discuss such overarching and all-encompassing challenges such as the coronavirus. A virus that had such a profound impact on us all. This is also a very strong testimony of the importance of the Barents cooperation. It's already mentioned the coronavirus has had a profound impact also on Troms and Finnmark County. As with you, it has an acute impact on our population, our businesses, some businesses more than others, and the services that we provide to our people. Luckily, the death rate has been very low in our county. We have long traditions for cross-border coexistence, traditions that stretches back centuries. The border has been nothing more than a line on the map. Sadly, this is no longer the case. An important task ahead is therefore to facilitate the reduced number of obstacles associated with this line. As we have no railroad, traveling by air is critical for us. You all know the situation concerning airlines. Restriction concerning public transport provide further challenges. International students exchange has been put on hold. Many activities related to our wide cooperation in the field of culture has been grinded to a halt. Medical services have a challenging time. We do not yet know the full extent of the economic impact, but we all see that this will be costly. Troms and Finnmark County government quickly adopted a crisis package with the outbreak, where we outlined a number of steps to mitigate the crisis. These measures are the establishment of a partnership consisting of all relevant actors, this in order to ensure a coordinated effort throughout the county. Allocation of additional 40 million directly towards business development, a number of measures to ease up the situation for our debtors as well as grant receivers. A number of investment projects have been put in place, putting in a system in place guaranteeing that our vocational students have the opportunity to finalize their education. Last but not least, we have tirelessly been trying to convince our national governments of the need to strengthen their measures. As a county, there is a limit how much we can do. We will therefore certainly need a stronger commitment from them. As we now stand on the threshold to summer, the next yardstick for us will be the survival rate of the tourism companies. Many of them are very small. I must admit, despite all our efforts, I'm concerned. On the end note, I put forward my hope that we can continue the discussion. For my part, I deem it crucial that we have a platform for exchange of knowledge on how to best tackle the challenges in front of us. Together, we stand much stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Mo. We continue with the Västerbotten, the chairmanship region. Governor Lustig, please, the floor is yours. Thank you, Lars. And we continue with the Republic of Karelia. Mr. Chipik, please.
Dear colleagues,
I would like to thank you for the opportunity to talk about this issue now. And we also have envisaged 5 major measures to mitigate the pandemic outcomes. One of these, like it was discussed, this is not the end of it. We have long-term forecasts, and the measures that we're taking are also long-term in terms of healthcare. This is prevention by modern measures of individual protection and modern practices of treatment. We arrange re-qualification of medical doctors. Now 400 medical doctors have been retrained for this kind of treatments, and one of the tasks is opportunity to substitute so that there is no tiring of our medical personnel, so we have a reserve of specialists. Also, we are purchasing modern equipment, and we're looking at prospects. We study how to treat this disease. And another field, like it was mentioned, we are looking at the experience of our Russian colleagues and internationally to support the business. So there are 3 major fields or sectors to support those who have been affected by pandemic. Secondly, to those businessmen who are looking for new opportunities in the new reality, to have some support for them. And I would support Andrei Vladimirovich. We need to look for investors, and it's a challenging task, but in the Barents region, Russia, I believe, is becoming quite competitive now to develop businesses, not because we are competitors. I don't think we are. Many fields that you have are novelties to us with the costs that it would be for our regions. That could be an opportunity for our local businesses and investors who would like to try that. And also, we would like to share our achievements. If you find them promising, from our side, we're ready to share. But for this, we need to have dedicated meetings and specifically discuss these issues. Also, we have transited a lot of small businesses in terms of sales or into the internet, and we see a lot of potential in that, in online trade. We have arranged a special online service to support the retail. We have expanded these markets, we have made them transparent, and we see potential to reduce the costs. People don't have to pay for expensive offices or do some special marketing. Everything is localized, everything is very convenient, and we see a lot of potential for a long time. Also, as the state authority, we are doing a lot of our bureaucracy online, and this saves time and is more convenient for our people. And apart from that, one of the areas we are actively arranging or launching national projects. As you know, in Russian Federation, we have special Karelia development program, and Karelia is one of the 10 regions with individual development strategies supported by the government of the Russian Federation. These are large-scale projects, very interesting, and they are developing the whole economy and social sphere of our region and will help us come back to normal from this crisis. I think considering the long-term nature of this pandemic, and also we have not implemented the full potential of what we can do. We are reopening aviation connection with Murmansk and Helsinki, and we see a lot of potential in that. We are trying to make it easier for business to work in our Arctic regions, and I think we have good prospects in that. And I believe that everything we're doing now will allow us launch new joint projects and recover tourism. We have serious potential that we have not implemented yet. Dear colleagues, I also support, and I believe it's a very interesting discussion, and we need to go on discussing that. I'm sure there will be new opportunities, new potential for developments in economy and social life in our region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we just move on to your neighbor, the North Karelia, and Eira Varis, Deputy Region Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In North Karelia, we have made so-called Corona exit plan already. Actually, it was published just yesterday. And it is concerning the business survival plan of North Karelia. And it has been drawn up in extensive cooperation with municipalities, entrepreneurs, and business organizations, and led by the regional council. The plan aims to find solutions and ways to restore the vitality of the region as soon as possible. There are 5 different actions pointed out in this survival plan. And now I will explain you those five action points. First is reviving demand for local services and products. So it includes actions like increasing the use of services of local entrepreneurs and self-sufficiency. Public and private procurements as tools for growth. Speeding up and encouraging investments, like public and private investments, for example, for basic infrastructure and construction projects. This action is actually supported now by the Finnish government. Second action is accelerating new growth, revising company strategies, business activities, and practices. And it includes continuing and intensifying development efforts to improve companies' competitiveness and adaptation to the post-corona period. For this, we use our instruments which we already have, and also those instruments which are launched by the government of Finland now for this post-corona period. Third action is new business opportunities through value networks. So bringing jobs back to the region and building new value networks and increasing business opportunities. Like I told in my first part of my speech, so there has emerged also new business opportunities during this situation, and adjusting sales and marketing for them. Fourth action is growth enhancing operating environment. That is what the public sector can do. So it means strengthening factors that pull and retain businesses and employees. And business services are supporting business growth. To solve seasonal workforce issues and increasing self-sufficiency in primary production. And to reopen the rapid flight connections, boosting investments with different tools and joint determined efforts to remove barriers for growth and to tap into changes in the market. Fifth action is the communication that builds trust for the future. In marketing, we emphasize use of local services. We improve atmosphere, building hope for the future, and this working together cooperation will help us get through this. These joint measures are planned and implemented for teams which are presented above, and some of them are already ongoing. So these actors who have made this plan together are pushing efforts to these actions. Thank you.
Thank you. The organizer for Murmansk has actually encouraged me to ask the speakers to keep the time limit. It could be quite difficult. I understand that because this issue is so big, it's very difficult to keep it in time. But if it's possible to try that. And unfortunately, Mr. Norwald was forced to leave this meeting. So we will continue with the next speaker from Nenets.
I'm here still, Thomas.
Oh, you are still
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
Okay, shoot then. You go for it, Thomas.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry for giving you the impression that I had left. Nordland County Council, we have established different crisis packages to support different sectors in Nordland. I will just briefly mention them here. We are, as a region, depending on a solid transport system. Nordland County government has therefore initiated a cooperation to maintain the capacity in the transport field in northern Norway and to maintain the frequency within public transport. This is especially important with regards to transportation of patients and personnels with critical jobs. We have continuously worked on finding good solutions for online teaching for our upper secondary pupils, and at the same time taking good care of pupils with special needs. One step that we have initiated is within the cultural sphere. Most of planned activity has been delayed, cancelled, or changed, and this sector is facing a huge crisis. One of the measures the county government has taken is a decision to pay for all cultural events that was booked before the pandemic, although the event itself has been cancelled. Businesses all over the globe has been hit hard by the shutdown. Nordland is no exception. I have therefore initiated a coordination group consisting of relevant stakeholders to monitor the development of business and industry sector and to be able to implement the most effective measures. The county government has adopted a regional action plan with 140 million Norwegian crowns to help society and businesses in Nordland in this initial phase. We have also decided to use regional development funds to contribute so that important small and medium-sized companies may maintain their businesses and open the helpline for companies. We are in close dialogue with our destination companies and the tourism sector. This year, we are hoping that Norwegian tourists will fill the cabins and hotel rooms, and are really looking forward to welcome you all back to visit us later. I think cooperation is a key word. The business structure in the Barents, it can be fragile. The Arctic resource paradox, where huge economic activity in the north produces jobs in the south, can be even stronger. I believe we should use the Barents cooperation to address this issue. One start could be to monitor the development through, for example, Business Index North, so that we, through common knowledge, can come up with tools to develop our regions in a more positive way. At the end, again, thank you to Governor Andrej Chibis for initiating this meeting. I wish all of you good luck in the work ahead. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you again, Thomas, for the misunderstanding. I understand that you need to leave the meeting a little bit early, but that is done now. Thank you. We go further now to Nenets and Mr. Bistudny, please.
Thank you, Thomas. I will try to be short, dear friends, and we'll start with the economics. Within the Northwest Federal District, of course, we exchange information with our colleagues, and there are substantial support measures provided by the federal government. If we're talking about the region and the best practices that our colleagues are now using and that we already heard about, we also are implementing them in our region. Talking about the economics, that none of our major industries stopped during the crisis. And as for small businesses, of course, there were periods when there was slowing down, but even restaurants are not reopened yet. So in order to support small and medium-sized enterprises, we apply the whole range of support measures by reducing their tax payments, providing them low interest loans, and all of that was quite substantial. And we hope that these businesses will not lose their workforce and will be able to recover after the crisis. The next issue is healthcare. What we faced is that, and the situation is similar in other regions, the situation is that we had outbreaks in healthcare facilities, and doctors were a risk group. And therefore, we made a big focus on personal protective equipment. And the most important thing was to train a large number of healthcare personnel who could who could serve as substitutes for those who got sick. Third sector was public services, and this crisis has seriously made us think about taking the government services to a new level. And we can say the majority of government and municipal services can be obtained remotely via their own computer. One more thing, many of you mentioned tourism and talked about the fact that this was a sector that was one of the worst hit by the epidemic. And of course, we had our transport communication disrupted, and we can only get to us by air. And as we move out of the epidemic, we are working with the airlines who could who could restore the air traffic, who could then increase demand for our tourism services. And I would also like to talk about the airlines, because we have our own air company based in Myanmar. It has a large number of helicopters, and it was very hard hit during the epidemic, because their major workload was from transporting personnel to remote work sites. And there was a large decline in the demand for their services, and we're now working on developing support measures for this company. And we hope once we're out of this epidemic, the demand for helicopter services will resume and the company will be able to continue the operation. Overall, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to exchange experiences, and all of this will help us get out of this epidemic by joining our forces. And I would like to thank my colleague Andrej Vladimirovich Chibis for the opportunity to participate in this, and good luck to all of you, and thank you.
Thank you very much. And right on, we continue with Norrbotten. Governor Björn O. Nilsson, please, it's your turn. Thank you very much, Governor Nilsson. And we continue with Kaino and Pentti Mahalen.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you for all of your splendid ideas. I will support very much what Mika and Eera from Finland already said, but I take a little bit different perspective. I focus on some lessons learned, and the first thing is similar to Sweden, that we have to have good communication, good cooperation and collaboration within the region. I also have been chaired a regional forum that we are following the pandemic situation and share experiences between municipalities and regional players, and also to report to national level and very much communicate to the local level. Second lesson learned is that this distant working and distant e-meetings have been mostly with good experiences, and I think in Finland we speak about new normal that will come up to this pandemic is closed. So that this is something that changes our way of working. Also, the way the experience and effect that is also partly good, not only, but this distance learning and e-learning, online learning on schools. It is also that this gives new perspectives for sparsely populated areas in the future. Fourth important field is, of course, the national and regional levels measures to ensure the businesses. And also I refer here for the financial and project funding that has been added from national level, but also that the businesses and the business support organizations have also made regular network meetings and support to the people on the grassroots level. And for fifth experience is, of course, this regional preparation of these regional revival plans or corona exit plans that is also made in North Karelia. It includes the lobbying or making initiatives to national measures, also the funding of special projects we have in our hands, and also the municipal and local level investments that are in our own hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Pentti. And the last regional leader speaking on this session is Ilya Sinyashkin from Komi. Please, Mr. Sinyashkin.
Dear colleagues, in addition to the federal measures implemented in the Russian Federation, of course, the regions also take their measures, take in consideration the specific nature of their regions. In particular, these are microcredits for businesses and resets of rent and reduction of taxation. We have rearranged the labor management. We arrange the employment search online so that people do not have to attend personally the job office. Also, we support families with children. Considering the nature of our region, we have introduced single-time support to people who have gardens, farms, and in future, considering the experience, we have enhanced the measures to prevent infections from boarding schools and taking all the safety measures, economic measures. Of course, we analyze and monitor and assess and correct these measures. Also, we would like to thank Andrei Vladimirovich for this platform. This is a very needed format so that we can follow the examples of our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a message from the organizer also. They couldn't hear the Mr. Björn Nilsson's speech, but they will later on forward his written speech to the Russian speakers. And now for the last speaker, once again, Lars Georg Fordal, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Thomas. When we experienced that the borders were closed, we started to think, how can we now stimulate cooperation when people cannot meet? And the first thing we did is we asked ourselves, what could we do as an organization? And what we did, we actually changed, you could say, from a grant supporting organization to making events ourselves. We made an event called Hack the Crisis Barents. This was a kind of online brainstorming innovation event for young people from Murmansk, Arkhangelsk, and Northern Norway. And the open question was how can these people living in the north make solutions to corona crisis related problems. And we were quite surprised to see that almost 60 people with a good mix from of Norwegian and Russians were eager to participate, and this was a kind of test for ourselves to see, is it possible to have some kind of digital international cooperation? And yes, it was. And this was a competition. The goal was to have good ideas. And there was a winning team that are actually now trying to develop their idea, a kind of digital meeting place for businesses and other people in the Barents region to meet online and to develop ideas. So we are looking forward to look further on that project. So, and second, well, a bit related, but everything went online. Also, we have a grant mechanism, and we made temporary new guidelines. So where we earlier supported travel, we are now supporting costs for having cooperation projects online. And we have set quite open rules, but the main factor is that we can now give support for costs to have technical solutions. And in May, we received 24 different applications where all had a kind of digital element. And this means that in the Barents region, accessible for Norwegians and Russians, there will be digital theaters, there will be online Norwegian-Russian youth cooperation. Already, there has been internet-based salsa dancing with clubs from Murmansk and Kirkenes. And this summer, between Vardø and Arkhangelsk, they will try to arrange a whole festival as an online event. So there is a lot of innovation going on. And last, I will mention that the information and flexibility has been very important. As I earlier mentioned, we support around 150 projects each year. So we started to call all of the traditional project initiators and ask them, what can you do now? Can you do something online? And quite a lot of these traditional projects where people used to meet, they have now changed to become digital. So to summarize, we have started to work different from being an organization that gives support. We have initiated activities ourselves, and second, to try to make everything digital has been very important, and then information and flexibility, that has been the key elements. But I have to say, we are still planning for future traditional events, and we are now in the process of working with the Kirkenes conference that will be hopefully arranged in February next year. The tradition is that the Norwegian Minister of Foreign Affairs usually attend. We hope she will do that this year. And we also hope to see many of you there. We will, of course, come back with invitations. So that was, what I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lars. There was a lot of innovative initiatives. I don't know if I personally prefer to dance online or in real life. The last speaker, please, from the Arctic program, Rika Uutinen.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Fordal. It was actually very interesting to hear your initiatives and ideas on the project level. The Managing Authority of Arctic CBC program has developed different alternative means to complete the tasks and to help the project partners to complete the tasks that are complicated because of the current situation. I give you 5 examples as was expected. First, we have given to the beneficiaries and applicants alternative ways to deliver us documents related to grant applications or interim reports. The project partners have detected significant difficulties in getting the documents originally signed and sending the original documents by regular mail. We try to relieve the situation as we can. Second, we have asked each project to revise the project plan and work plan according to the current situation. We have asked them to estimate whether the objectives are still relevant and realistic in the changed working environment, to see if the planned activities are still possible to be implemented and if the activities are still the right ones to reach the objectives. Third, many of our projects have found online tools to keep their work going on. This is one of the reasons why we are very proud actually of our projects, and we have shared the good practices that the projects have found to adapt the activities to the current situation and to keep the project going on. Fourth, to mitigate the consequences, the Managing Authority has been in contact with the European Commission with a request to extend the program's implementation period in order to provide the projects its extension to their implementation period. And now it seems that our request was successful. And fifth, I have to say that not so bad nor something good. The pandemic situation has also given a good reason for us to stop and to look at where we stand, to review the plans and activities. This is a very good phase for a midterm review for both projects and the program. We in the Managing Authority are preparing a program's midterm review. I also want to refer to what Pentti Malinen said earlier. As we also see today, the situation with restrictions has taught us to use online tools, which gives an opportunity to intensify our work and save money at the same time. The same applies, of course, with the projects. However, I hope very much that we will sometimes have a chance to meet face to face also in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rita, for these words. And I think we all agree that we not in our wildest fantasy can imagine what Corona will do for us this spring. And I didn't in my wildest fantasy either believe that we could keep the time limit today with such an interesting topic to speak about. Nevertheless, we have some minutes left, I think, and it goes to summing up this conference, the host, initiator, Governor Chibis, please.
Friends, thank you very much, Thomas, for moderating this session. I listened very attentively to what my colleagues had to say, and what I saw is that each of us has our own experience in fighting the COVID-19, and each of us has our own approaches to how we're going to live afterwards, and what we need to do in order to restart our economies, in order to make our industries even stronger. And I hope that the experiences that we shared here is very interesting. So my proposal is to create an online analytical team who will eventually become an offline team in order to accumulate and compile the experience that we have here in Russia, in Murmansk region, in neighboring Russian regions, to make an analysis and keep updating it. So, because we're all going to be learning, continue learning, and it would be right to learn from the experiences of other regions who are in a very, we must admit, we live in a very difficult place. The North is different. And so if you support this initiative, then we will send you the appropriate queries and requests so that we can have this group, this team, so that we could continue this conversation on a more regular level with analytical materials. It will make it possible for us to become more efficient, more dynamic, and again, we will make a special focus on our being in the north, and then that we can develop our friendly relations and build economic ties between our countries and our regions. So if you don't mind, this would be my proposal, and we would initiate the establishment of such a working group or team. And thank you very much for this very fruitful and useful conversation.
Thank you, and thank you once again, Governor Chibis. We will bring this issue further offline. I guess I can see in the faces here on the screens that there were a lot of nodding. So I hope that your idea will be realized for my personal thing. But I also hope that we maybe can meet again in November in Murmansk, as you already invited before. And I think that we will have millions of different topics to discuss, and maybe also have something conclusions from this group that you want to create. And with that, if nothing else need to be said, I declare this first online governor level conference ended. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Спасибо.